Welcome to This Is Jen, probably episode 57. We've learned the hard way that I'm not great at numbering. I'm guessing that's what this number is. We have Shady Ray here with us, and she is our on-site producer. And then Hallie Lord does all the behind-the-scenes stuff. They are amazing. I have a lot of new people checking out my stuff, so a quick intro. I am an atheist to Catholic convert. I always say that first because all of my crazy takes on things kind of come back to that. Even when I'm not overtly talking about atheism or Catholicism, I feel like that is the salient bit of knowledge about me that makes everything kind of click for you. And I didn't convert because of marriage. My husband and I both converted, and I have 6 kids. And I do stand-up comedy. And I quit my job as a daily national talk radio host. I had a daily talk radio show on a national platform. And I went ahead and quit that. I made that decision in March of 2020. I was like, I don't need that stable job and benefits for my whole family and a salary. And no. What I'm going to do is stand-up comedy touring. That's my new life now. That was me in 2020. So I hope that you are on this podcast for advice, because obviously I have it all figured out. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about today, and today is a big day for me. Shady knows this. This is the first time in more than a year that I will be doing stand-up comedy at, yes, thank you. One woman round of applause here. Yes, that I will be doing stand-up comedy at a comedy club. I've done a little bit of comedy at these like socially distanced private events, but the comedy clubs are finally opening back up with social distance stuff going on. They're finally opening back up. And I want you to think about this, dear listener. You know what? I'm always imagining what you're doing right now. Maybe, well, if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably just, just sitting, you're like in a doctor's office listening with your AirPods. But if you're listening to the audio, maybe you're like in the car pickup line to get your kids. And whatever it is that you're not looking forward to this week that feels stressful, at least you're not going to be doing stand-up comedy for the first time in over a year. And I'm on a show with other comics, and one of the comics, I've been saying forever, this guy Fahim Anwar, I'm positive he's going to be the next big thing. He's a super talented comic, and I've seen his set many times, and it's very solid. I think he's going to end up being a really big name, just crazy talented. So he's on this show, and a bunch of other comics. I'm sure they're great, too. I haven't seen them. I'm one of only 2 women on the show, and the only one doing a clean set. Well, clean-ish. It's my set. I don't refer to myself as doing clean comedy. I call it primetime comedy, meaning it's not churchy. It's not for your grandma's rosary group, but you could do it on primetime television. It's not, I'm not dropping F-bombs and going into super crazy territory. But all the other comics do. And so, this, to go out, if someone has just done a set that's like one F-bomb after another, graphic sex stuff, and then I get up and I start talking about my minivan. Minivan material can work, but maybe not after graphic Tinder hookup talk, And that's what I'm facing tonight. So all that is to say, no matter what it is that you are dreading, at least you don't have that on your plate. Because the other thing with stand-up comedy is take however scary you might imagine public speaking to be, and then imagine that's like a little fire that's burning. And now dump an entire barrel of gasoline on top of it. That's what stand-up comedy is. Because in a regular talk, you're saying inspirational things. Yes, my people. Yes, you should be listening to me. That's how it is in a regular talk. In stand-up comedy, everyone knows when you just went for a joke. So when you go for a joke and the room is just silent, you hear people like the ice clinking in their glasses. Everyone knows you failed. The other comics know that you failed. And see, and this is what people don't think of. Not only does the audience kind of hate you now because they're like, hey, I paid to be here and I paid for laughs.
That wasn't funny.
Right. I didn't pay for you to get up on stage and be lame. So
Work on that.
Right. And so the audience now resents you. But here's what you don't think about. The other comics now are judging you because the comics who go after you hate it when you bomb, because laughter is like, I don't know, it's like music. It's like you're establishing a vibe. And when someone kills the vibe in the room, it is very hard to get the vibe back. In fact, at one of the last shows I did before quarantine, there were some opportunities for people who had never done comedy to come up on stage. And this guy tells this story of how his brother, I'm kind of laughing because it's just dark humor here. This is dark humor laughter. He's talking about how his brother was involved in crime, was robbing and stealing and a criminal. And then he got hooked on heroin. And then he was homeless and wasting away on the streets when he wasn't robbing the other homeless people. And see, Shady, here's the thing. There were no jokes in there. Like, he delivered it about like I just delivered it. And by the way, I'm the next comic on this show. And right. And so he's just like, yeah, my brother, and like he stopped speaking to me, and I tried to help him, but like he didn't want me to help him. And he just kept shooting that heroin, and he got on meth. And I am there like, now I get it. Like, I hate this guy. What are you doing? I have to follow you. That now the crowd's angry. They want to kill us all. They're going to riot. He ends by saying, you know what, guys, though, there's an amazing ending to this story. My brother got clean, and he's here tonight. He's right there in the back, round of applause. And everyone's like, oh, that's amazing. What a cool night. He ends his set by saying, no, I'm just kidding. I have no idea where he is. And he's still doing heroin as far as I know. He walks off the stage, and they're like, and next, big round of applause for Jen Fulweiler.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, that audience was like, and he was first and I was second. So there were no other comics. So I had to recover that crowd, and it was a lot of work. So all this is to say, a lot of people hate you, more people than you would think, when you bomb a stand-up comedy set. And I'm not sure that I'm set up for success, that I will be doing clean comedy on a show, prime time comedy.
It's prime.
On a show that is not a primetime comedy show. And people, they haven't left the house in a while. Do they know how to laugh? Do we still know how to have fun? Do we know how to do anything other than watching Netflix? But here's the thing, friends. I always tell you, throw yourself into crazy situations. And you need to use this litmus test. This is my guiding litmus test in life. Do not ask whether you will succeed or fail. Ask whether it would make a good story. I got that from Donald Miller has a book, an underrated book, I might add. It's called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. And so it's about how, I've told you guys this before, that these producers came to make a movie out of his life. And then they're like, but you're not doing anything. So like, we're not really sure how to make a movie about your life. And so he started thinking, what does this say about me? What does this say about my one shot on planet Earth? You get one chance at this. And my life is so boring that you could not make a movie about it. Like there's no movie. And so he started trying to do things that would make his life better. Now he went the route, this is what my friends in Austin would do. It's like, I need to go to Peru. Like people in Austin, they dabble in Buddhism and they'd go to a Buddhist monastery or something. My take on that is you don't have to leave your house to live an interesting story. My first 2 memoirs, bestsellers, I might add, all took place in like 2 rooms of my house. I remember when I was writing Something Other Than God, I was like, do you think people want to read a memoir about a woman who sat in her house and read books? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do. And then I got even more audacious with my second memoir. Do you think people want to read a memoir about a woman writing a memoir?
Oh my
that is honestly maybe the boldest move I have ever made, is that I wrote a memoir about writing a memoir. But people like it. Look up my books on Amazon. They get very good reviews. Something Other Than God, I think it's getting close to like 900 reviews, and they're very good, except for the atheists who are like, because it's called Something Other Than God, and it's my conversion story. And they're like, I thought this book was actually about something other than God. She becomes Catholic. This book is terrible. Other than that, people seem to like it. So, for those of you who are saying, well, I have young kids, or I'm disabled, or like I can't go do what Donald Miller did and go to Peru, or, go to the Himalayan mountains. I bet they have Buddhist monasteries, right? They do. Right? Actually, I know that because I read all these books and I watch all these shows about mountain climbers, because I think the whole idea of like leaving the house is very exotic. So yeah, there's all this Buddhist stuff up there in the Himalayan mountains. So all that is to say, if you can't do that, if that's just not your, you've got little kids, something is going on in your life. You don't have to make your life interesting. The scariest risks we will ever take are risks with our ego. Let me just tell you, from the position that I am sitting in right now, so Colin O'Brady, the explorer who I'm obsessed with, if you ever knew my show on Sirius XM, I would do like an hour on Colin O'Brady. He's always he crossed Antarctica by himself. Do you know who this is?
I think I've heard about that.
So he's always doing these challenges that they're so great. They're like, he's like, I'm going to climb K2 in the winter. And for those of us in the mountain climbing world, meaning I watch the documentaries, a lot of people think K2 is harder to climb than Everest. So Colin O'Brady was like, I'm going to climb K2 in the winter. And then he rode across I like that Shady's giving me this look of like, what? Yeah, exactly. He rode across the Drake Passage, it's at the bottom of South America. It's known to be the stormiest, worst seas in the world. And evidently rowing is like a crazy thing to do. Normally you would take a different kind of boat across that. So just when you guys think like, wow, Jen's tangents are really they're very, I know where I'm going. Trust me, I got this. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm not impressed with Colin O'Brady trying to climb K2 in the winter. I watch the Free Solo documentary. You want to watch something wild?
Yes.
Wild this weekend.
Hunter and I watched that a bunch.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like that one was really about a relationship, and the guy happened to be the guy had kind of a weird relationship with his girlfriend.
They're
so I thought
now.
It was like, are they?
And she's a climber now too.
Oh, really? So yeah, I kind of felt like the fact that he climbed a mountain with no gear was secondary to the romance plot. But okay, so it's about a guy. He went up, what was it, Yosemite Peak or something?
No, it was El Cap, was it?
Oh yeah. El Cap. Yeah. So, and it's a wall that's like, look, here's a little see this car. I mean, this is the wall that he climbed. It's like practically sheer.
Yeah.
This huge kind of outcrop. It's not a mountain.
It's like this, it's not a mountain, no. It's like the side of a cliff.
It's a sheer cliff, And so he went, like, normally the climbers, and this is where my knowledge breaks down a little bit, they'll jam things into the wall and they have their harnesses. And so if you fall, you're all right. You'll get slammed into the wall a few times, but, that's like a Tuesday when you're a mountain climber. So you're fine. So he climbs up this sheer face of El Cap. And this is, I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's free. You can watch that, watch my
and
special.
Disney Plus.
Let's get these things, people who also watched. Yeah, because my comedy special, that's like the comedy version of Free Solo.
Get them intertwined.
So I would like to see Amazon associating these two things in the algorithm. The Naughty Corner is the name of my special. So watch that and watch Free Solo. And so this guy is climbing El Capitan solo. And I look at that and I'm like, I don't know. That's not that impressive. I mean, just because you had to climb for like 10 hours and one slip.
He did it in an hour and a half.
Did he?
He did it in like
in my imagination, it's 10 hours.
That's how long it should have taken.
But it's very tall. I mean, like what? I mean, once he got
anyone else, it takes 10 hours. He did it that fast, though.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. He did it in a fraction of the time.
Well, I guess so, because he's like it's the old saying, like, be wrong as fast as you can. Like, if I'm going to die, let's get this over with, you know? Enough of this, like, yeah. So he found the most efficient way to mountain climb. Don't bring the equipment. Just risk death and go straight up. I bet everyone thinks I have forgotten where I'm going, because we're now on a tangent of a tangent of a tangent.
No, you haven't.
Watch what I'm about to do here. Free soloing El Cap is nothing compared to doing stand-up comedy when you haven't done it in a year and you're one of few women and the only primetime comic on a set. I just look at these guys and I'm like, is that... Oh, but are they really taking... Just because one pebble moves and you fall to your death instantly, is that risk? I mean, because, like, you wouldn't even suffer for that long. If I'm up on this stage for a while tonight. This is a 20-minute set. And see, with stand-up comedy, you can't really riff. You change one word in a joke and it bombs. So you have to memorize the set verbatim, but be loose enough so that you can interact with the audience. And, it's 20 minutes. Like, that's a long time. When typically you want to go for about 3 to 4 laughs per minute. That's what the pros do. If you watch Nate Bargatze, actually he tends to have more setup, but Jim Gaffigan, all the pros, you're laughing or chuckling about 3 or 4 times per minute. Expand that into 20 minutes, and it's a lot. So what I'm saying is, I know Colin O'Brady, like the guy who free soloed El Cap, and Jimmy Chin. These guys, they try to live interesting lives, but who's taking the real risk? Who's taking the real risk? It's me. And to bring it back to the original point, dear listener, dear viewer, for those of you watching on YouTube, you might think that because maybe you're broke, maybe you, again, have a disability that makes mobility hard, maybe you have a bunch of little kids, and so you might think that doing like a risk-taking thing is off the table for you. You're like, well, I can't go to the Grand Canyon and bungee jump on into it. So I'm doomed to a boring life. People like Colin O'Brady, they have interesting lives. These people up messing around on K2 when it's cold, winter, climbing Everest, they have interesting lives, but I'm stuck with a boring life. Not so. I have found that the scariest risks you will ever take. You want to be a real thrill seeker? Go on Instagram without makeup on. You want to be a real thrill seeker? Like, go on your Facebook and, like, make a point, not political, but, like, say something that matters to you. Like, say something that you think can really change the world. You want to feel like you are living on the edge? Go try to be funny on social media. You will not find a more terrifying thing. See, I challenge, if I told Colin O'Brady, if I were like, look, I'll go mess around on some mountain if you will try to do 2 to 3 comedy sketches a week on Instagram, I think he'd be like, get out of my face, woman. Like, I would rather climb El Cap with my hand tied behind my back than try to be funny on the gram. So the point is, we can all live more interesting lives. And if you feel like you can't, I would suggest that maybe it's because you're afraid. Maybe it's because what really makes life interesting is when you put your ego on the line, when you do something that could harm your pride, and that's terrifying to us. And I think that's what's holding you back. And it doesn't even have to be putting yourself out there publicly on social media. Maybe there's, do you ever, Shady, see someone or encounter someone? I mean, I know we haven't left the house in a while, but back when life was normal, would you ever see someone and think, I'd love to be friends with that person. I should be friends with that person. That would happen to me sometimes. But then I think, well, that's so creepy for me to just walk up to the woman that I keep seeing at church and be like, we should be friends. So things like that. Just challenge yourself to be like, hey, I noticed whatever, would you love to go to lunch sometime? I mean, and here's the thing. Here's why it feels risky. Because there are times, and I have lived through many of them, where the person will actually be like,
no,
like, that's so weird. Like, a few months ago, someone, like, kind of, she seemed like she was a fan, emailed me, and she had her number in the signature of her email. And I thought, well, this might be, I'll just text her, because it was that for some reason I was having email issues. So I thought, I'll just text her. And from my real number, like my actual, phone number that my friends have. And I said, hey, it's Jen Fulweiler, blah, blah, blah. It was very clear she did not want to be texted. She found that very strange. She gave me like a 2-word answer and then nothing. And so look, I thought she seemed cool. I was trying to connect. That didn't work. I clearly freaked her out. And so that's the thing, is like, it doesn't always work. It doesn't always pay off. And in fact, Colin O'Brady, he didn't make it up K2. It didn't work. And in fact, some real tragedies happened on there. It doesn't always work. But you can't let that stop you, especially when you're talking about a risk that it's only your ego involved. Think about that. Like, you're not going to die, Like, so if I go up there tonight on this show and I bomb and I'm just up there for 20 minutes. Oh, here's the thing. You can't cut your set time either, because the organizers are counting on the show being a certain length. One time I spontaneously cut my set time and the MC wasn't ready. So I left the stage and the stage was just empty. You have to, like, I'm up there for 20 minutes, no matter how badly it's going. And so, if I fail, like, look, all that will be lost is I'll just change my name and go into hiding, and I'll never be part of society again. I'll delete my social media, and, I'll live a humble, hermitic life of seclusion. Many of our saints did that, like Saint Mary of Egypt. She ate bugs in the desert. And that is the route that I will go. But hey, did I die? No, it was just my ego that was at stake.
That died.
So I think, right, yeah, my ego is dead. My ego fell off El Cap, but metaphorically. But I'm fine other than that. So I challenge you, if you are feeling a little stifled. Oh, let me add this too. I have also noticed my depression, anxiety, and let's use just one word to encompass anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, catastrophic thinking. Let's just call it my crazy. It's just a whole ball of crazy that we have going on in my brain. And I have noticed that really kicks up when I am protecting my ego. The more I protect my ego, the more I'm like, I don't want to, text that person and ask if they want to hang out. I don't want to, do a funny thing on social media. Whatever. I start to, like, it really makes depression, anxiety, that sort of thing worse. I mean, I start to really sort of mentally go crazy. And it's funny how it has an oddly calming effect on me when I just mix it up. Because then my thoughts are somewhere else. I'm like, oh, that was a really weird text I sent. Like, oh, that's, and so now I'm not thinking about, all the catastrophic things I tend to think about. So I find that it makes life interesting, and it will bring you an odd sort of peace when you start being a thrill seeker, but with your ego. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying
following,
when I say ego?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. See, it's good that Shady is here, because she knows she can give me well, we do have a lasso, actually. So at some point she can lasso me if I am going way too far. Okay. Next. You may have seen, if you even casually follow me on social media, you may be aware, where's my phone, that I did one of my little sketches. And this one, Shady, I'll show it to you, and we'll have Hallie put it up in post. So this was a reference to have you heard about this millennials versus Gen Z thing? So first of all, someone put up an image that said anatomy of an old person. So this was supposedly written by someone in Gen Z. And I think that's like 25 years old or younger. So it says, aging millennials are characterized by their love of things like side parts, skinny jeans, wine, and the laughing, crying emoji. Many millennials like this one are in a state of discomfort regarding their proximity to middle age. I have a lot of questions about that. Like, one is, where do you come from, and what is the life expectancy among your people? They're obviously referring to someone who's like 32 or 33. Do you come from like a war-torn country where the life expectancy is like 50, because how is a 32-year-old like really getting super close to middle age? But so millennials are kind of wound up about this. I've noted, like they seem very upset about it. Now, as usual, I just want to point out, Gen X isn't in this. We're not in any of this. Notice people talk about the boomers. They talk about the millennials. They talk about Gen Z. Gen X is never, we're chilling. We've always been chilling. I saw a tweet. One of my favorite tweets was from this woman. She was like, you just can't come after Gen X. We were the latchkey kids. All of us, like both of our parents worked. It was like starting at 6 or 7 years old. You got off the bus. You had a key to your house. You got in that house. You watched Thundercats.
Yeah.
You watched Legend of Zelda. You watched Small Wonders, and it was about a girl who's a robot, which super creepy undertones now. You know, she's like a witty robot, but she's 10, and it like, I can't believe that ever worked. And I thought it was a fantastic show. We watched Charles in Charge. Circling back to that one, actually. Remember Charles in Charge. We were just ignored by everyone. The boomers ignored us. Millennials ignored us. So Gen Z, Gen X, we fly under the radar. You know, you can't mess with Gen X. So I took this, the viral thing that's going around. So I did a news story where I was speaking on behalf of Gen X and saying that we now staged a coup, and we'll play it now to refresh your memory. In the millennial versus Gen Z war, Gen X has staged a coup. We are now in charge of all trends. Side parts are out, so side ponytails are in. Skinny jeans are out, MC Hammer pants are in. Wine is out, daiquiris at Red Lobster are in. The laughing emoji is out, so we have commissioned an emoji of Tom Selleck that will replace all existing emoji. Gen X has been biding our time for years, and now we rise. Scott Baio is now president. Okay, so first of all, I did the blonde wig because I've realized that some people don't, when I'm not in costume, when it's not campy, they don't in a millisecond get it that it's humor. So you see that I have this totally cheesy wig on. It's meant to be trashy looking. And I did that because you have a millisecond in modern social media culture to get people's attention. So that's to instantly signal it's humor, and that's why I do campy wigs a lot, because you instantaneously you have to let people know that. So I did not know that Scott Baio is such a controversial figure. TikTok has informed me of that. Although, you know what, I have to say, so TikTok got really mad at me about referencing Scott Baio, but update, that sketch now has like 115,000 views. So I mean, you know, they try to ignore it, but they can't fully ignore it. So all of these people were like, Scott Baio, I can't believe it. So many people were saying, I was with her until the Scott Baio reference. I'm out. And then people would reply, me too, out. I'm out. And the last time I looked, I had like 530 comments on TikTok about this. And what was frustrating to me is I have a long history of doing viral stuff. I had a website back in like I want to say it was 2001. I had a bunch of stuff go viral, and it would get like millions of views. I don't think there were millions of people on the internet at that time. So I have many a moon have I been doing viral content. So I kind of know, I can always tell within the first 10 minutes if something's going to go viral. And that one would have, except that people were so mad about Scott Baio. So I missed out on another million view post because people got so mad about Scott Baio. And the thing that I still don't even know what the man has done wrong.
I was going to say, do we know?
I refuse to look into it. He got into politics. I know that. I refuse to look into it beyond that, because this is not taking more time out of my life. I had no idea. I imagined that Scott Baio was on a beach somewhere. He was retired. He was, you know, having a daiquiri, having a pina colada on a beach. Oh no, this man, he's a power broker. He's been making moves. I don't know what moves he's been making, but they've been big ones.
He thought he was doing the limbo somewhere.
Right, exactly. Like playing pin the tail on the donkey, you know, things that you do in retirement. Oh, no. He has been, based on my TikTok comments, I think he's been like finding TikTok users and coming to their houses and punching them. I don't know, because they're very mad about him. Because you would think that with just a joke that people would be able to be like, no big deal, clearly a joke. The picture that I used of the man is from the 80s. It was a cheesy 80s picture. So you might think that people would be able to be like, oh, I bet she doesn't know. I bet she hasn't heard about the dastardly deeds that this man has been committing. But no, the fact that they couldn't let that go and roll with the joke, I don't know. Maybe he's showing up at their houses. Toilet papering people's houses. That was a thing before we all had Nest cams. That boy, that's different now. Maybe he's been like TPing TikTok users' houses. Ooh. I don't know. But the point is, it's stressful to me because whenever you're in a situation where you feel like you have misrepresented yourself, where you feel like you said something wrong or you did something that did not come across the right way, and now people think that you stand for this one thing or you're against this other thing or whatever, and you feel wrongfully accused, but you also see like, oh, maybe then you're second guessing yourself, like maybe I should have said that differently. I mean, I guess I just didn't pay enough attention to this. Like, I thought you could just like what I thought that you could just reference 80s celebrities, But a lot of them are problematic. I mean, you can't like Bill Cosby. A lot of them have really, I guess when you have that number of years in the public eye, that you're going to do something, And
it's going to make some people mad.
Right. So anyway, the point is we all find ourselves in situations sometimes where you feel misunderstood. And you feel like maybe it's even my fault. I'm not even blaming the people. It's just, people are angry at me, and it's frustrating because this isn't even what I stand for. Like they have me wrong. I have found in life, here's my bit of advice for you today. I have found in life that you have to let it go, and you have to trust that you will have opportunities to redeem yourself. And that if you just keep being a person of integrity, as I am when I put on $7 Amazon wigs and talk trash on Instagram, super right. Oh yeah. Do you guys remember the hot dog costume from one of our October? No, but what's funny is I think we did that episode in November. Like Halloween had passed, and I was still dressed like a hot dog. And what's funny is it tanked our views. Like nobody watched that. That when I posted it on Instagram, it got low views. So thank you for your feedback, everyone, that you don't want to see me as a hot dog. That's good feedback, and I appreciate it. So you have to I keep coming back to this phrase the hippies use, abundance mentality. I'm really into that. There is something to this idea of abundance mentality. And it doesn't mean some people use it for like, we can all be billionaires, abundance. Not like that, but believing in God's abundance, that you have an abundance of opportunities to complete your mission in life, that you have an abundance of resources to be the person you are meant to be right here, right now, to have whatever impact you're meant to have on the people around you right here, right now, that there is an abundance of that, because it's the opposite of that. It's scarcity mentality that makes us stress out about things like that if we start to freak out like, oh, well, I said that wrong thing at my group at church, and now they think I stand for this, and now people are probably mad at me. Yeah, that's scarcity mentality. That's assuming that you'll never see these people again, that you'll never have another opportunity to show people who you really are. And when you step into this mentality, without the hippie nonsense, of just saying, you know what, there's plenty, there's more than enough, plenty of connections, plenty of friends, plenty of opportunities. And in fact, see, I'm doing this with the comedy show tonight. Of course, I worry, like, what if I bomb really hard and then I'm not invited back? And abundance mentality, Shady, that there's actually not at all an abundance of comedy clubs right now because of COVID. But hey, you know what? There's an abundance of Well, there will be an abundance. Yeah, okay, this is not working. I know I'm just screwed if I bomb tonight. So if you're Jen, have a scarcity mentality and be terrified because everything is actually kind of on the line. But for you, there's an abundance, and don't worry about it so much if you feel like you misstepped. If you feel like people misunderstand you, you will have an abundance of opportunities to show the people around you who you really are. And the more you stress out and fixate and freak out on it, the more you're likely to actually achieve the opposite of what you want. I think that's a good note for us to wrap up on. Speaking of all this stuff, on Patreon this week, I am patreon.com/thisisjen. I am going to be talking about imposter syndrome. That is this phenomenon where you don't feel like you belong here, whether it's as a parent, whether it's in some work that you do, whether it's just like with your Instagram account. You feel like you are an imposter. So I'm going to talk about how I really don't struggle with that, actually, at all. That's one of the few things I can say. I'm just over imposter syndrome. It's not an issue for me anymore. So I'm going to talk about how I got to that point. Patreon.com/thisisjen, where I do a whole separate podcast where I go a little deeper and share kind of just some more personal stuff. Shady Ray, thank you so much for producing. Hallie Lord is doing the behind the scenes work. She has a brand new book called Falling Home. You need to check that out. It's a very beautifully written book. And I will be back with you on whatever this episode is +1 next week here on This Is Jen.